that we have to talk about, and it starts right here with this man who's been going around telling everybody, including every single news outlet, radio outlet that can listen to him, that he's the one who tells the truth and Donald Trump's the one who lies. And I'm going to show you how that just isn't true. I think Joe Biden lies as much or more than Donald Trump. I'm not saying that Donald Trump doesn't exaggerate things. I think the followers or people that vote for Donald Trump understand that when he says things like it's the best economy ever, that he doesn't mean it's the best economy ever. It's his hyperbole and exaggerated way that he talks. But we do understand that back in 2018, when you go to the grocery store, would pump gas in your car, your dollar went further than it used to. When you got, a weekly direct deposit from your employer, that money paid your bills and you had a little bit left over. And now people can't do that because what cost $100 at the grocery store back in 2018, now 6 years later costs $400. And so families are struggling. And so when Donald Trump says things that are like, hey, the economy was the best ever, no, it was a lot better than it is right now. And so we feel what he's saying more than it is that what he said was totally factually accurate. And I think that's a distinction that needs to be made. But then you have this man who stood for an example in front of everybody at the debate, saying things like, we killed Medicare, or he killed Medicare, which I don't even know what the heck that means, and said that no service people had died under his watch. Totally inaccurate. But that's not even the point of really what I'm wanting to talk about in this moment. Here's what I want to tell you. He pledged to be a one-term president back in 2019. He actually stood in front of crowds that would become his constituencies in the primary elections and said that he's going to go rescue America. It's a one-time rescue mission. He's going to stand in the gap as a transitional candidate to be a bridge for younger leaders to help stand up. That he really is the only person on the face of the earth, which, by the way, is pretty egotistical, but he really thought that he's the only person on the face of the earth that could beat Donald Trump in an election. That's just not true. For example, I think Michelle Obama could beat Donald Trump in an election. I think Gavin Newsom might be able to beat Donald Trump in an election. I think anybody that had a brain and could debate well would have a pretty strong chance of beating Donald Trump in an election. And so for him to think he's the only person in the world that can beat Donald Trump in an election is probably a lie to begin with as well. But he promised and committed to running for only one term. How come nobody holds him accountable to that? How come nobody's reminding him of his words that he said in 2019? Take a listen.
Look, I view myself as a bridge, not as anything else. There's an entire generation of leaders you saw stand behind me. They are the future of this country.
The New York Times reports that he's also considering
The New York Times
pledging to serve only one term.
says he's pledging to serve only one term.
Quote, framing Mr. Biden's 2020 campaign as a one-time rescue mission for a beleaguered country.
A rescue mission.
He's also questioned, whether this type of thing or serving one term is the right thing to do.
He's going to run for one term.
I may end up, if I get elected, only having one term.
He's only going to be one term. Now, listen to what Anderson Cooper from CNN
He's
says.
going to run for one term.
I may end up, if I get elected, only having one term.
Biden pledging to serve only one term.
Anderson Cooper on CNN saying in March of 2019, Biden is pledging to only run one term. This is his people. CNN is a paid propaganda group for the Democratic Party. This is his group of people sitting there saying he's only going to run one term, basically doing the same thing that they've done. And this is the biggest tragedy that I think that's happened. You had CNN and MSNBC and ABC and NBC and CBS basically lie to the American population for the past 3.5 to 4.5 years, saying that Joe Biden was articulate and bright at the top of his game, nothing wrong with him, and that all of the things that Donald Trump was saying about him, about Joe Biden's mental acuity, how he can't get sentences out, they called them deep fakes. These videos are deep fakes. And now we just know that that's not true. A 90-minute unedited debate where Joe Biden couldn't string sentences together, saying things like he killed Medicare, lying, saying that there's no such thing as dead service people under his watch. And the media lied to us all along the way. And so now I'm looking at the face of Anderson Cooper saying Biden's pledging to only do one term back in 2019. Again, another lie from the side that calls the other side liars. How about that?
the Abrams strategy and the one-term pledge, both in effort to tamp down concerns about electing a 78-year-old president next year.
We're coming on the air with...
Okay, and this is in 2023. Gail, known for her unique friendship with Oprah, says this.
Important news in the presidential race. President Joe Biden is officially running for re-election.
2023. President Biden is officially running. Okay, he lied on that one-term pledge. Here it is. This is an article that was written on December 11th, 2019. Biden signals he would only serve a single term. Advisors weigh the merits of the one-term pledge made by President Biden. Now, how terrible is that Joe Biden, who made a commitment to the American population that he would only run for one term, now has literally the entire country, according to a Washington Post poll, 82% of Americans are actually begging Joe Biden to get out of the race. And he's pretending like, I ain't never said that. I'm the best president you ever saw. Excuse me, sir. You can't even talk. And we want to know who's running our country. We want to know whenever the nation of Israel as Christians is involved in a war that we have their back. And considering that he can't put some sentences together makes me concerned about the future of the world. Okay? Listen to what he said during the debate. This is the fact checking, by the way, from CNN. These are false or misleading claims, according to CNN, his own people. So you know it's much worse.
Who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's
plenty of troops that died on his watch.
Put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office.
And I think the unemployment was much lower than that. I think he's going to say what it is. Let me just have him say it.
It was actually 6.4.
6.4%. That's also considering COVID. So when he comes out and says, like, unemployment was 15%, it's the only president that's lost more jobs than's gained them. It's really misleading because we were in a global pandemic where countries around the world were shut down. And so to use those metrics against Donald Trump, which every person knows about the dollar going further during Trump's presidency than during Biden's presidency. Everybody knows your dollar went further during that time period. So when he says unemployment was 15%, when it was really 6%, it was only 6% because of the pandemic is terrible. I mean, it really is terrible. Remember anybody who was on unemployment during the pandemic were getting paid bukus of money. They were getting paid unemployment plus hundreds of dollars on top of unemployment. A lot of people were making more money on unemployment by far than they did whenever they were working, which decentivized them from wanting to go to work.
Or he said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know.
And he keeps saying that he said that during the ABC News interview the other day. Trump never said that. It's crazy.
Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he supported.
There's no way the Border Patrol would support Joe Biden. Are you kidding me? Absolutely insane. We have millions of illegal immigrants, many with violent criminal records, young men, military-aged, in shape, funded at times even by their own country to come into our nation. And he's trying to say the Border Patrol endorsed him. Come on, friends. Let me just share it to you from my heart. This man is not telling the truth, and the media that's behind him is not telling the truth either. Is what it is.